Shout out to everybody. We back. We're about to see what is going on with this debate. Looks like Piers Morgan's got a bunch of people on here to talk about. So the title says, "Are you done with the Russian propaganda debate on Trump, Putin, and World War III?" So let's hear what Piers Morgan got to say. Shout out to Piers Morgan.
The safest way back from the brink.
We've watched from the United States as the Biden administration has driven the U.S. ever closer to a nuclear conflict with Russia, the country that possesses the world's largest nuclear arsenal. It has accelerated ever since, and it's reached its...
It does seem like Biden is continuing to create tensions between Russia and Americas. You know what I mean? Like, it's very clear that he's doing that, you know, by allowing Ukraine to go over here and launch long-range missiles into Russia. It's like, come on, bro. Like, what is you doing, man? Meanwhile, like, Putin wants to talk to Trump to potentially discuss, you know, peace. It's kind of crazy when you think about it, man.
So far in the weeks after Trump's...
Shout out to everybody that's coming into the chat. Marcus Chapman, I see you in here. Deontay Kennedy, a member on the channel. Appreciate you. Froggy Megsy, shout out to you, a moderator in here. Appreciate y'all.
Election. He's now the president-elect. In that time, just a few weeks ago, the Biden administration, American military personnel launched missiles.
And salute Mafioso. Hey, y'all, I'm tired, bro. I just got off of work at 12 hours. You know what I'm saying? Look, like, but I do want to see what's going on in the news, man. Like, let's look at some of this.
Into mainland Russia and killed at least a dozen Russian soldiers. So we are, unbeknownst to most Americans, in a hot war with Russia, an undeclared war, a war you did not vote for and that most Americans don't want, but that is ongoing.
Well, joining me to debate all this is the author of Provoked, How Washington Started the New Cold War with Russia and the Catastrophe in Ukraine, Scott Horton, the former Navy SEAL who killed Osama bin Laden, Rob O'Neill, the host of the founder of the Young Turks, Cenk Uygur, and the Ukrainian streamer and YouTuber, Ukrainian Anna. Welcome to all of you here. Let me start with you, Ukrainian Anna. First time we've had you on Uncensored, so welcome to you.
Yo, this is a big look for her, being on here, Piers Morgan. And she's represent Ukraine. Like, this is going to be interesting.
I watched the interview with President Zelensky at the weekend, and I went to Kyiv 4 months after the war began and interviewed him and the First Lady. And he was resolute then that Ukraine would not cede an inch of territory to Vladimir Putin, and that was certainly the mood of all the people. And yet here we are, you know, just over 2 years later, and there's no doubt that he is now countenancing the idea that Ukraine would cede the territory.
Also, let me know too, like everybody in the chat, right? I see y'all coming in here. Hit the like button. I appreciate y'all. Let me know, does the audio sound like it's doubled, or is it clean like when I'm playing the video from Piers Morgan? Let me know what y'all think, because I was watching one of the videos that I had did back, because I had made some adjustments to OBS, and when I was playing it back, it sounded like the audio was like low-key doubled. So I don't know if it sounds like that now, because I'm not listening to myself through the headphones. You know what I'm saying? I'm just listening to what's going on with Piers Morgan through the headphones. So let me know, y'all, is the audio clean or is it not clean when I start playing this?
Being taken by Putin in return for membership of NATO for the rest of Ukraine. What did you think of that interview that he gave?
What I think about it is there are certain realities that we have to contend with as people, and many people in Ukraine are of the opinion that Trump will, when he becomes president, push Ukraine to basically some sort of concession. And our job is now to somehow figure out how do we guarantee our security in the future and how we prevent Russia from attacking us again, which is something that most people think NATO membership is, because Russia is not in the business of attacking NATO countries. It's in the business of attacking Georgia, Moldova, Ukraine, countries that
I mean, let's keep it real, bro. Don't nobody want to say this. Like, Ukraine is Russia's, bro. I don't care. We done read all of that. Like, bro, remember the like, I can't remember what live we did. We broke down like all of that, the history between Russia, Ukraine, and what different like leaders thought about that situation. Like, bro, Ukraine is Russians, bro. Like, I don't care what like people think about that. Like, after the I mean, this is what it is. Like, you can't like tell me Putin wrong about this. I'm sorry, it is what it is. I'm sorry. You can't tell me he wrong about this, bro. They want to keep expanding NATO and moving like closer. Like, No, bro. Nah.
Outside of NATO's protection. So yeah, most people in Ukraine obviously don't want to cede anything because we know what happens in those occupied territories, and so does UN and many other organizations that gave their nod to the acknowledgement that there is a systematic torture, rape, abuse, deportations of Ukrainians, prohibition of Ukrainian language, culture, and all sorts of horrible things. And of course, nobody wants to abandon our people to that sort of fate. But also, you have to.
Yo, this has been going on for like 2 years now, ain't it? Because let me see. I used to work somewhere, and somebody was coming here from Ukraine. So it's been like 2 years. Yo, time is like flying, man. Insane.
Kind of content with what our allies want and what is their decisions. So I believe in that sense that Zelensky is doing exactly that. He's acknowledging the reality of Trump's presidency and what will happen. So I think we should also wait and see what exactly Trump will do, because his plan has been discussed, but we don't know really.
Yeah.
So the Declaration of Independence of Ukraine was passed on August 24th, 1991, with one vote against. The subsequent 1991 Ukrainian independence referendum approved this by a nationwide majority of 92.3%, a majority in every region of Ukraine.
Much details so far, so yeah, I wouldn't jump into conclusions right now.
No, I think that's right. And I think that, yeah, I mean, I'll bring Scott Horton in here. Scott, the thing about Trump is he is unpredictable. We don't know. I talked to him last week about this. We don't know exactly what Trump's going to do. People keep trying to say this is what he'll definitely do. He'll give Putin everything he wants and so on. I don't think he's going to be giving Putin. I think the alpha in this situation is Trump. He's not going to sit there and give Putin everything he wants, but I think he's going to try to work on, a resolution for the situation, and help them come to some sort of terms to stop, maybe potentially do a ceasefire. You know what I mean? I think that would be good. How many people have passed away over this? Hold on. Because I think it's over 1 million, right? So it said casualties in the Russia-Ukrainian war include 6 deaths during 2014 annexation of Crimea. Hold on, 14,200 to 14,000 military and civilian deaths during the war in Donbass, and up to 1 million estimated casualties during the Russian invasion of Ukraine till mid-September 2024. The war in Donbass' deadliest phase occurred before the Minsk agreement, aimed at ceasefire and settlement, despite varied reports on Ukrainian military casualties due to underreporting. Official figures eventually tallied, indicating significant military and civilian casualties on both sides. The war also saw a substantial number of missing and captured individuals, with efforts to exchange prisoners between conflicting parties. Foreign fighters and civilian casualties added to the war's complexity, with international involvement and impacts extending beyond the immediate conflict zones. So over 1 million casualties. The subsequent Russian invasion of Ukraine further escalated casualties and destruction. Conflicting reports from Russia and Ukrainian sources indicate high military and civilian casualties, with significant discrepancies in reported numbers. Foreign involvement continued, with both foreign fighters and civilian deaths reported. Efforts to identify and repatriate the deceased alongside the treatment of prisoners of war highlighted the human cost of the ongoing conflict. So over 1 million people. I think that's going to happen. But in terms of this deal that Zelensky seemed to be putting forward,
hit the like button if y'all can. Double tap the screen if you got an Android device, iPhone device. I think you can do that too. Double tap the screen. You know what I'm saying? Hit them emojis, all of that. I can see it on my end, but you know what I mean. But if y'all can do that, be appreciated. We gotta break through the algorithm real quick because I ain't gonna be on here that long. You know what I'm saying? But shout out to y'all.
Where Putin would keep the land that he's taken, but that the rest of Ukraine would come under the NATO umbrella. Do you think that's something that Putin would even consider as part of a peace settlement?
Oh, I really don't know. I certainly doubt that he's willing to accept anything that would include even rump, what's left of Ukraine.
Hold on, my bad. Like, what's up, Sugar Black? Froggy Megsy, I seen you in here. I'm just a vet, another member in here. Somebody said, give your life to Jesus. What? Somebody said, when did the war in Ukraine start? It started in February 24, 2022. That's when it started.
Joining the NATO alliance. I certainly hope that Trump would not entertain that. That's what this has been largely about, of course, along with the contest over who controls what territory inside the country, is preventing exactly that conclusion. I think it's a real dilemma because the Ukrainians, it's not just that Trump has won an election on repudiating Biden's policy and seeking peace here. It's quite frankly that the Ukrainians are just in no position whatsoever to reverse Russia's gains on the ground. Even the Biden administration admits that now. The Post, the Times, and the Journal all quote military experts saying that truly is the case. So, in other words, Kiev and DC are in a position of weakness, and all Trump really has to threaten is more weapons sales and increased weapon shipments. But Biden already tried that. That didn't make the difference.
Forrest Gibbs is in here, said, United States has failed to uphold a promise that NATO would not expand into Eastern Europe, a deal made during the 1990 negotiation between the West and the Soviet Union. We talked about like a lot of this stuff before. Like, I don't think, and as far as propaganda, I think that we are like trying to make Putin out to look crazy, when in all reality, I think that he's been trying to be as compliant as he can, like with the United States over the years he has been. And Russia has, aided us with different things and stepping in with different things. And we read about all of that, and we heard lots of commentary about that in different lives. And it's just like we keep nudging Putin and nudging Putin and nudging Putin until, like, I mean, at a certain point, like, Putin's gonna look crazy, like, if he don't retaliate and do something, bro. Y'all are like supplying like Ukraine weapons, and you know what I'm saying, it's fighting a proxy war, giving them billions of dollars, and NATO is expanding closer to his territory when all he's been saying like all of these years, like, do not expand NATO. Now I can understand NATO, like, yo, you don't control us, like, you're not in NATO, like, who do you think you are? You know what I'm saying? Like, I understand them to a degree, but if you Russia, and you know what I mean, one of the leaders, whether it's Vladimir Medvedev, who used to run Russia, or Vladimir Putin, whatever, you know what I'm saying, now that Putin's there, like, he not about to play that, he not tolerating that, bro. Like, he's for his people. If y'all, like, just think about, like, them building missile defense, somebody building missile defense systems closer and closer to your homeland. You know what I mean? And you already, like, low-key got a volatile relationship with the main, like, figure that's, like, running that organization. You know what I'm saying? Like, and they keep getting closer and closer. Like, what you gonna do, bro? Yeah, it's crazy. Like, nah, man.
And so I think what's going to
get the likes up if y'all can.
Happen is the Russians are going to keep probably all four of those eastern and southern provinces there. Luhansk, Donetsk, Zaporozhia, and Kherson, and hopefully will not demand Kharkiv or Odessa. We can, stop it there. And the Trump administration is going to have to get their messaging straight that this truly is a betrayal, and they admit it, but that it's Biden's betrayal. Biden made this country and these people promises he could not possibly keep. We're going to help you force the Russians all the way out and all of these things. And all they've done is gotten a bunch of people killed and then they lost anyway. And it's a real tragedy, but it's not Trump's fault. Trump has to be able to have.
Yeah, it's not Trump's fault. And then just like Hops 27 said, if an agreement says do not expand, then do not expand. Now it's not like they didn't try to talk. So what NATO is saying is they never had no agreement with Russia not to expand NATO. Like that's what, you know, we had read that before. Like they said that they didn't, you know what I mean? Like have any agreement with him. Like it's just like understood, I guess, you know, like don't expand, you know, but NATO don't have no agreement or where he could tell them what to do. You know, so they feel like they can operate however they feel like operating. Like, who is he? You know, but me looking at everything, bro, like I don't think Putin is the bad guy here, bro. Like, I don't.
Have the political capital in this country to say that, look, it is ugly. But you know what, Piers? He actually, and I don't know how he did this, he got Zalmay Khalilzad, the card-carrying neoconservative Straussian, to sign a deal with the Taliban to get us out of there. And yes, Biden absolutely botched the withdrawal. I could go on for an hour about that. But Trump was willing to say, you know what? We lost. We're not keeping the Taliban out, and we're going to stop trying now. And Biden, it was really the best thing Biden ever did in his life was agree with that, even though he botched the process of the withdrawal. And so it's the same kind of thing here. It is a real tragedy what the Biden administration has gotten the country of Ukraine into here.
Cenk, I mean, look, every party.
And Zelensky's just like running with whatever. They basically got a battery in Zelensky's back. Do this, do that, do this, do that. He feels like he's a part of something. And he's so desperate to try to get involved in NATO. Like he's doing whatever the US wants him to do. Like the dude is, Zelensky's a joke, bro.
Me is like, I don't want to give a Russian dictator who's illegally, in my view, invaded a sovereign democratic European country that's been independent since the mid-90s. I don't want to give him an inch of that land that he's stolen with his murderous rampage. But there comes in war, you know, I've got a lot of military in my family, there comes in war a cold, hard reality check, as Anna was alluding to earlier, where we are. You know, we can all be idealistic about what we'd like to happen, but the reality is that it is highly unlikely. Now, I think that Ukraine, without a massive extra support from the likes of America, which is simply not going to come, that it is a case of Putin will probably be able to keep what he's taken. Is that your assessment? And is that right for the world that we give him this big win, which is effectively how he will?
I mean, like, I hear what you're saying. Like, we give him this, we get this. Bro, like, Ukraine is his, bro. I don't care what y'all say. Like, you know, I rock with Piers Morgan, bro. You part of, like, the American media, you know, in a sense, bro. Like, I don't. No, man, like, that belongs to. I don't care. Like, people get mad. Get mad. It belongs to him, man. Like, no. Yo, what do y'all think in the comment section about that? Like, do you think that Putin wrong? Do you think he's right? I'm interested to see, like, how people view this situation. Because I want to play a video for y'all in a minute. But I want to hear what y'all, I want to see what y'all think first.
That is my assessment. And so the reality on the ground is that when Trump won, we lost about 20% of Ukraine. Now, there's a good argument to be made that you had already lost that 20% of Ukraine and you were never going to get it back because of the military realities on the ground. So, you know, this has been a very, very difficult question.
True American says Zelensky is begging for more money and Trump is the guy who wrote the art of the deal. Good luck with that. Yo, I cannot wait for Trump to get in here, bro. They are going to get a reality check. And shout out to my fiancé. He said, I do not really care. I just want people to stop dying.
Because the U.S. did push Russia too much. We did push NATO to its border.
Yo, Chink knows. So Chink is well informed on this. He said, yo, the U.S. did push Russia on this. They did, like, yo, all right. Just I I'm like, am I reading the wrong? Because a lot of times, like, I end up, and I know y'all probably do this too, man. You look at news outside of America, you know, because they not always telling us like the reality of what's going on, bro. But it seemed like he may actually be well informed on this.
When we said we wouldn't, I understand all that, but at the end of
but you know, he's still American media, so let's see how he gonna try to spin that against Vladimir Putin.
We lost about 20% of Ukraine. Now, there's a good argument to be made that you had already lost that 20% of Ukraine and you were never going to get it back because of the military realities on the ground. So, you know, this has been a very, very difficult question because the U.S. did push Russia too much. We did push NATO to its borders when we said we wouldn't. I understand all that. But at the end of the day, the Russians invaded. And it's not an anti-war position to start a war. So Putin is definitely guilty. Add on top of that 12,000 civilians killed. Add on top of that 20,000 Ukrainian children kidnapped. But what's the answer? Is the answer to fight for the next 10 years, 20 years? Is the answer to cede ground to Putin? Well, that's also...
Yeah, Nebula's advancement toward USA sphere of influence. There has to be checks and balances with the world, man, in my opinion, right? If United States is successful, I feel like they want to, like, if not, they're not saying this, but the way they move, it feels like they want to just like take over the whole world. You know what I'm saying? And put the American influence everywhere. I think like a place like Russia needs to exist. You know what I mean? Because if the NATO can end up expanding to everywhere and they end up just taking over everything, there will be a one world government. It's going to happen. You know, so Putin, whether you like him or not, Russia, China, Iran, they keep the balance. You know what I mean? It's like the balance of powers, you know, to where United States can't just completely just take over. You know what I mean? And NATO just take over and run everything, you know, because I'm not trying to be living under a one world government, bro. Like, I do not want that at all, you know. So I feel like personally, just my personal belief, I think Russia needs to exist and they need, you know what I mean? Like, they sovereignty and everything, you know what I'm saying? Thug life. That's what I think, you know. But I want to play a video for y'all, right? And this guy breaks down the Russia and US like tensions of what's going on, and this is what it says. It said, bookmark this, keep this, remember this, watch it often, memorize it, learn it, understand it, grasp it, believe it, and never forget it. Let me let y'all hear this, bro.
This is not an attack by Putin on Ukraine in the way that we are told every day. This started in 1990, February 9th, 1990. James Baker III, our Secretary of State, said to Mikhail Gorbachev, NATO will not move 1 inch eastward if you agree to German unification, basically ending World War II. And Gorbachev said, that's very important. Yes, NATO doesn't move, and we agreed to German unification. The U.S. then cheated on this, already starting in 1994, when Clinton signed off on basically a plan to expand NATO all the way to Ukraine. This is when the so-called...
So Clinton, like, signed off on that. Okay. All right. Interesting. Very interesting.
Neocons took power, and Clinton was the first agent of this. And the expansion of NATO started in 1999 with Poland, Hungary, and Czech Republic. At that point, Russia didn't much care. There was no border other than with the Königsberg, but other than that, there was no direct threat. Then...
yeah, hit the like button if y'all can.
The U.S. led the...
Or double tap the screen, all of that. But listen to what he's saying. He's saying Clinton is the one that actually is trying, you know, signed off on, like, trying to expand NATO. It's crazy. Listen to this.
Very important.
But I like how he started this off. He's like, this is not an attack on Ukraine by Russia like people are made to believe. Like, it's just like far deeper than what you guys can understand or realize of what's going on, you know. And then he breaks down, you know, everything that America ended up doing wrong in this situation. You know what I mean? And I think this is tough for him to do it. I think he was I think he's like a professor or something like that at Cambridge or something like that. I can't remember. But let's rewind and let's listen to him.
This is not an attack by Putin on Ukraine in the way that we are told every day. This started in 1990, February 9th, 1990. James Baker III, our Secretary of State, said to Mikhail Gorbachev, NATO will not move 1 inch eastward if you agree to German unification, basically ending World War II. And Gorbachev said, that's very important. Yes, NATO doesn't move. And
so what do y'all think about that, right? You know, in order for German unification, whatever, you know what I mean? Like, you know, Russia's going to play ball and like help with all of this, right? Russia don't want them expanding NATO. So, I mean, is that reasonable? If they want to end World War II, whatever, like, is that reasonable? I think it's low key reasonable.
We agreed to German unification. The U.S. then cheated on this, already starting in 1994, when Clinton signed off on basically a plan to expand NATO all the way to Ukraine. This is when the so-called neocons took power. And Clinton was the first agent of this. And the expansion of NATO started in 1999 with Poland, Hungary, and Czech Republic. At that point, Russia didn't much care. There was no border other than with the Königsberg, but other than that, there was no direct threat. Then the U.S. led the bombing of Serbia in 1999. That was bad, by the way, because that was the use of NATO to bomb a European capital, Belgrade, 78 straight days to break the country apart. The Russians didn't.
Man, they bombed them for 78 straight days. That's insane, man. That's crazy.
Serbia in 1999, that was bad, by the way, because that was the use of NATO to bomb a European capital, Belgrade, 78 straight days to break the country apart. The Russians didn't like that very much. But Putin became president, they swallowed it, they complained, but even Putin started out pro-European, pro-American, actually asked maybe we should join NATO when there was still the idea of some kind of mutually respectful relationship. Then 9/11 came, then came Afghanistan, and the Russians said, yeah, we'll support you, we understand, to root out terror. But then came 2 other decisive actions. In 2002, the United States unilaterally walked out of the anti-ballistic missile treaty. This was probably the most decisive event, never discussed in this context. But what it did was trigger the U.S. putting in missile systems in Eastern Europe that Russia views as a dire, direct threat.
What y'all think about that? Like, he not done, bro. Let me read some of these comments. Let me turn it to subscriber only, man. Like, so if you subscribe to the channel, you know, I see your comments, because sometimes it gets crazy, man. So y'all comment and I'll like respond to y'all comments.
2004, 5.
And I appreciate y'all for hitting the hearts, hitting the 100s, all of that. I see y'all. Hit the confetti, hit all that.
We engaged,
and the super chat is running. You know what I'm saying? So you want me to look something up or talk about something? Hit the super chat.
Engaged in a soft regime change operation in Ukraine. But in 2009, Yanukovych won the election and he became president. And in 2010, on the basis of neutrality for Ukraine. That calmed things down because the U.S. was pushing NATO, but the people of Ukraine on the opinion polls didn't even want to be in NATO. They knew that the country is divided between ethnic Ukrainian, ethnic Russian. What do we want with this? We want to stay away from your problems. So in February 22nd, 2014, the United States participated actively in the overthrow of Yanukovych. A typical U.S. regime change operation, have no doubt about it. And the Russians did us a favor. They intercepted a really ugly call between Victoria Nuland, my colleague at Columbia University now, between her and
Columbia University, not Cambridge, my bad.
the U.S. ambassador to Ukraine, Jeffrey Piat, who's a senior State Department official till today. And they talked about regime change.
What's up,
They said,
Nebula?
who's going to be the
Appreciate
next
that.
government? All of this is to say, the U.S. then said, okay, now NATO's really going to enlarge. And Putin kept saying, stop. You promised no NATO enlargement. It's been, by the way, I forgot to mention, in 2004, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Bulgaria, Romania, Slovakia, Slovenia, 7 more countries in the not 1 inch eastward. And then, okay, it's a long story, but the U.S. kept rejecting the basic idea, don't expand NATO to Russia's border in a context where we're putting in goddamn missile systems after breaking a treaty. 29.
That's crazy. They're putting missile systems in after breaking the treaty. And we expect like Vladimir Putin just to sit back and like not care. Like what? It's crazy.
19, we walked out of the Intermediate Nuclear Force Treaty. On December 15th, 2021, Putin put on the table a draft Russia-U.S. security agreement. You can find it online. The basis of it is no NATO enlargement. I called the White House that next week after that, begging them, take the negotiations. Putin's offered something, avoid this war. Oh, Jeff, there's not going to be a war. Announce that NATO's not going to enlarge. Oh, don't worry, NATO's not going to enlarge. I said, oh, you're going to have
True American says setting up a base on your border, no big deal, right? I know, right?
a war over something that's not going to happen? Why don't you announce it? And he said, no, our policy is an open door. This is Jake Sullivan. Our policy is an open door policy. Open door for NATO enlargement. That is under the category of bullshit, by the way. You don't have your right to put your military bases anywhere you want and expect peace in this world. They turned down the negotiations. Then the special military operation started. And 5 days later, Zelensky says, okay, neutrality. And then the United States and Britain said, no way. You guys fight on. We got your back. We don't have your front. You're all going to die. But we got your back as we kept pushing them into the front lines. That's 600,000 deaths now of Ukrainians since Boris Johnson flew to Kyiv to tell them to be brave.
Zelensky's got a battery in his back, bro.
Super dangerous. That's why this is an unsolvable riddle, because you can get to peace now by doing what Trump is likely going to do, which is Russia take 20% of it, and Ukraine will not join NATO. But the next time Russia thinks about invading a country, they're going to think, well, we went into Georgia and took a chunk. We went into Crimea, took it all. When it was part of Ukraine, we went into Ukraine again. We took 20% of it. It turns out aggression is rewarded, and Netanyahu's watching, and he's going to take a part of Gaza, and China's watching, and they've got the Uyghurs in the detention camps and the re-education camps, and the Russians have the Ukrainian children in the re-education camps. So this is really, really dangerous for the world, no matter how it's resolved.
Yeah, Rob O'Neill, you've been at the sharp end of some of the...
I actually low-key agree with Trent.
worst conflicts, wars of the last 25 years. Once again, thank you very much for your extraordinary service, not least in killing bin Laden. What is your overview of where we are here? Trump coming in, obviously he's going to change the dynamic. He proved in his first term he's not a warmonger. He thinks war, apart from anything else, is just terrible business, that it costs a fortune. The rewards are very low. The other side of that coin is, do you let a Russian dictator run into a European country, take what he wants, and just let him have it? What's your view?
Well, unfortunately, we're in a position where it doesn't matter why we got here, we're just here. And Cenk was mentioning Georgia and Crimea and invasion of Ukraine. That's all weak leadership on the United States. And unfortunately, when we have a strong United States, we have a more stable world most of the time. I mean, we did invade Iraq, and I disagree with that, even though I went there. But you're going to have to go to a position of negotiation. I mean,
yo, I see you, True American. He said Cenk is starting to become MAGA, ironically. Yo, I think Charlemagne the God is... He's being red pilled, like he's like pandering to MAGA right now, it feels like. He's not saying it, but that's what he's doing. Stephen A. Smith is coming around. Very, very interesting.
We did say we weren't going to push in NATO further east, and we did. Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia. We were moving there, and now Ukraine wants to be a part of NATO. And you know, it's Russia doesn't want that, and you're dealing with big countries, but you're also dealing with big egos. And Vladimir Putin grew up in
another thing, right? Like, just think about this: what if Russia didn't do anything, and then they try to become a part of NATO, and then they actually get into NATO? You see what I'm saying? Like, then if you Russia, you just not NATO is mad close to you. You know, so so is he wrong? Like, I mean, anytime like a war is going on and like people are losing their lives and stuff like that, I don't like war. You know what I mean? Like, what is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Like the old song goes, like, it's for real. So I'm not really with all the war stuff like that, but he probably seen it coming for them to potentially get into NATO, and he's like, yo, I'm striking first. Like, you know what I'm saying? To try to stop this. Like, that way, because if he goes in now and try to reclaim the land while they're not in NATO, it's like, they ain't in NATO, so United States technically, I mean, we fighting a proxy war. It's basically like low-key, Ukraine is in NATO, bro. Bro, we giving them weapons, giving them money, giving them permission to launch long-range missiles into Russia. Is that not like being in the NATO? Like, and then you try to get your part of your country back, right? And then America is sitting there giving them tools to fight against you. If you Putin, what do? Thug life. Like, it is what it is. People get mad. I don't care. How would you feel about that? I mean, I'm American. I'm riding with America. If Putin came over here, like, I'm riding with American. You know what I'm saying? Pew, 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 pew. I'm riding with America. Thug life. You know what I'm saying? But if you Putin, it's YouTube. Pew, pew, pew. But if you Putin, you know what I mean? How you feeling about it?
Part of Russia, where part of the fun was chasing rats with sticks, and he found out what it was like to corner a rat, and that's kind of where he is right now. He's been in charge of Russia since the early 90s, let's be honest, and he wants to save face with his people. He's lowering the conscription age to get people in there to fight. It's like he's not going to back out, but you can't let him take more, and I'm by no means defending him, but I also think that Volodymyr Zelensky is a puppet, and he's laundering money just like most of the people in Washington and Ukraine. That's why the whole argument in Ukraine is how much money people can personally make in Ukraine. I hopefully think that Donald Trump brings a big stick. Also, he doesn't care about embezzling money like the United States is now, and whatever they're doing. But it's not a good situation. But we definitely need deterrence. We need alliance solidarity, which we lost.
My bad, y'all. Did I just do that? I'm riding with America. Pew 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 pew. I just do that. My bad, y'all. It's YouTube. I can't go crazy with pew pew.
By leaving Afghanistan the way we did, and a forward defense. Right now, our Navy, which is the epitome of our forward defense, is under the Biden administration is worrying about getting more transgender bathrooms and getting green ships, even though they're all nuclear, which is green. It just, there needs to be some adults in the room and talk reality, because here's where we are, and someone needs to come to the table and talk to someone else, not worried about how much jewelry Mrs. Zelensky could buy in New York on the taxpayer's dime.
Right. And how popular is Vladimir Zelensky now with Ukrainian people, do you think?
I'd say pretty popular still. Most people consider him a pretty good representative of Ukrainian people and what we want. And pretty disheartening, I'd say, to hear what people say here, but I'm used to it. Surprisingly, Chink, I agree with, in the sense that we can't allow Russia to continue get away with what they're doing, because that's what they have been doing, in particular with annexation of Georgian territory and Moldova and Ukraine in 14, and now in 22 full-scale invasion. And nothing stops them then from fully invading Moldova or Georgia. They are already doing all they can to select people there as, presidents.
And we all we sitting on our computers, we sitting on our phones, we all chilling. You know what I'm saying, driving around, we just go get something to eat, bro. There's people in war zones right now. Scared, you know what I mean? In ditches, and you know what I'm saying? They got these, you know what I mean, things flying over them that can blow up, all kind of stuff going on, bro. I seen crazy stuff over there, bro.
And meddle in their elections quite strong.
Shout out to True American, man. Appreciate you.
Already, and if they can't do it with just hybrid methods of sabotaging the elections and making people basically install their puppets there, then they do sort of like a blackmail, then they do threats, and then they do annexation, invasion, terror, death, and all that we are having right now in Ukraine. And that's not
Anna, how would you describe Anna, how would you describe the mood of the Ukrainian people? When I was there, like I say, 2 years ago, to a man and woman, whatever age that I met, there was this steely resolve of, we've got to win this at all costs. But the cost has been enormous. So many cities just destroyed, so many people killed, all these children being taken and so on. Is there a mood now in the country that they just want peace, just want a deal, even if it means surrendering the territory that's been taken?
Nobody wants.
And then Vladimir Putin ended up saying Ukraine would have 1 week left if America stopped sending them aid. So America is the reason why they, you know what I mean? If he's saying that, America is the reason why they're still in the war. So it's we try to help America, you see what I'm saying? All these different times, and then now y'all trying to get involved in what we doing? Bruh!
Peace more than us. I live in a city that is bombed every day. My father has been killed. So of course we want peace, but that depends on what that peace is, because nobody wants peace without any sort of justice, right? And that is the problem, because we have to consider our now, obviously, right? Even if the fire stops. So let's say my city stops being bombed every day. That's a bonus for me, obviously, right? And for my family and for my friends. But how important is that bonus? Because it's a temporarily bonus. We have to think about the future, that other people, other generations are not going to go through exact same things we went through. And that's quite important to most Ukrainians. But the mood, of course, have been solid. As you said, people were more enthusiastic before, specifically because of the, I would say, lack of care and lack of commitment from our allies, particularly the incredible amount of limitations on our long-range strikes. For example, as you know, UK actually gave us the long-range missiles, Storm Shadows, I believe they're called, and we couldn't really use them because of the limitations that were given to us, primarily by United States and by Biden, by the way, himself, his administration at least. So in that sense, there has been a sort of demoralizing effect, of course, because of the lack of aid, inconsistent aid from both the United States and also European countries as well. And it's hard to sustain that sort of I'd say, hopefulness and will when you are not confident that you will have means to fight with properly.
Yes.
And that, I would say, dampen the mood.
Yeah, I understand that.
Interesting. True American said there's always some foreign conflict. It never ends in the military-industrial complex and everyone who has stock profits. Yeah. Andrea said, why are people so stupid? Shoot, glad I swiped up and found you. I appreciate you. Shout out to you.
Scott,
what do you mean by that? Why are people so stupid? Like, what do you mean by that exactly?
You know, a lot of people have come
and
on
I'm glad you're here, but like, what do you mean by that exactly?
This show since this war started, and they've made the argument, which I know that you subscribe to, which is effectively the West and Ukraine go.
And another thing, so this is what, I'm getting hit up a lot, and I know y'all have been seeing this. So a lot of people want me to talk about this whole healthcare thing, like the CEO of like an insurance company ended up getting clipped. I don't really want to talk about that because it's like, I mean, I don't really feel bad for the dude. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, anybody like losing their life and stuff like that is bad, but it's like insurance companies be wilding, man. Like, just being like, they be wilding. Like, it's hard to feel sorry for that man. You know what I mean? Anybody losing their life is bad, but we don't know what that dude that did that, like what he been through. Like, we don't know, bro. But that's like what's going on right now. People talking about that. That's like what the algorithm, I feel like, in different social media networks is pushing. So, and mad people want me to talk about it. They've been hitting me up over it. But I want to talk about this. I want to put emphasis on this. You know what I mean? We can get to all of that later. But that's what's going on. So, like, yeah, that's why I'm like, yo, hit the likes, double tap, all that, because we got to fight through the algorithm on that. It's easier for me to just talk about that, but I do want to like put some attention on what Piers Morgan is doing. Shout out to Piers Morgan. Andrea said they do not understand that Trump is cleaning house. We do not. DeSantis is your smart. Look, I can't wait for Trump to get in. You know what I'm saying? So all of this mess can stop. He may not be able to end everything, you know what I mean? But I think he can at least like create some resolutions. He's a businessman. He's not like, you got to think Biden is a career politician. We don't know who's giving these people money behind the scenes, and they play the political game their whole life. You know what I'm saying? His whole life. So he's not for the people. Like Trump was actually out here living, being regular. He don't really conform to what other people's norms are. You know what I mean? Even in politics, like you look how he handles media. Look how he runs, you know what I mean? His administration, look how he ran, like even just like the debates and you know what I mean? Him running against Kamala Harris for the presidency. Look how he ran that. Like he marches to his own tune. And I think he is in tune with the American people and what they want. And I feel like America basically gave the government, you know what I'm saying? Like, let them know, put the government on notice. Like, this is what we need, and it was an overwhelming sweep. So I think he understands, like, America wants him to change things. They want to get away from this situation of supporting this war. You know what I mean? Like crazy, like high food prices, all of that. We want to get away from that, and we need a president to change this. And we understand conflict between countries also hurt the economy. It ain't all about like pricing and stuff like that, but it affects things, so if you got a president that's business oriented, I think he can get in there and talk to these guys and talk some sense into them, and that's what we need.
Who did Russia into doing this by continually pushing for NATO membership, for NATO encroachment and so on, as the Russians saw it.
Yeah, exactly. Make America respected again, bro. There's like, we did like a live, what was it, like 2 lives ago? It was the Whoopi Goldberg live. I think it was like yesterday, right? We did that live. And we've seen video footage with lefties losing it. Rita from Sky News Australia, shout out to her. And she's showing like Biden, like falling asleep in Africa and mixing, like thinking like countries or states and Like the dude's just completely disoriented. You like people see that and they look at us like, yo, that's y'all president, like y'all allowing that. You know what I mean? I do feel like Trump will bring a different level of, you know, respect to the Americas again. You know what I'm saying? So I just can't wait for the whole change to happen.
There's another school of thought that this could have been resolved diplomatically. That actually, yeah, you can take that argument. You can see there's merit to that argument, certainly to a degree, but it doesn't justify launching a full invasion of your neighboring country. I mean, would you accept that the invasion itself didn't actually have to happen?
Yes, I have a whole section in my book about all of Putin's different options that he could have taken. The book is not called Justified, why Russia had to do what they had to do. It's called Provoked, how Washington started the new Cold War with Russia and the catastrophe in Ukraine, because the book is 700 pages of all of this going back to the end of the last Cold War. And with all due respect to the guy that shot bin Laden in the head, thank you. And with all due respect to this young woman whose poor country is being bombed to death and their opinions here, it's just not the case that what we have is a simple case of a Hitlerian, Putin-led Russia running roughshod and rampage. And the only thing to stop them is when tough, good guys like us stand up to a bully like him. For example, in a war that they both cited numerous times here today, the Georgia war was begun by the American sock puppet, Saakashvili. He launched that war and killed Russian peacekeepers in his initial assault. And they lied about that, led by John McCain during the campaign at the time in 2008. But even the New York Times later admitted that, yeah, it was true, that was how that war started. And it was and part of his motivation to do that was that Bush, a few months before, had given him sort of a pseudo membership action plan for joining NATO. But you can't join NATO if you don't have settled borders. And Georgia had these two breakaway provinces under Russian protection. And so he was trying to reincorporate them so he would have a settled border so he could join America's military alliance, which completely blew up in his face and got a bunch of people killed. But that's just not the same thing as Putin wakes up every day scheming on how he can conquer Poland, and only America's threat of ultimate H-bomb annihilation is holding him at bay. It's just really not like that. It's much more complicated.
I don't know, man.
Than that. And, again, back to your original question, it's not to say that he's justified in what he's done, but it's like if you get in a bar fight and you're shoving a guy with a knife in his pocket and he stabs you, that doesn't justify you shoving him, doesn't justify him stabbing you, but also you were shoving a guy with a knife in his pocket, and don't pretend like he just woke up this morning looking to pick a fight with you. And one more thing here.
Yeah, that was actually a good analogy. That was a very good analogy, though.
A great example, and then I'll leave it, is the status quo in Crimea held from 1991 all the way through 2014. What changed was that...
Yo, we got 17,000 views on this video at like 8 o'clock in the morning. Y'all in tune. Shout out to y'all. This is not a good time for me to be going live talking about politics and stuff like that. And so, I mean, that's pretty good right now, like 8 o'clock in the morning. I appreciate y'all.
And there was a controversy over it. It's an extremely important Russian naval base there at Sevastopol and the rest of this. It was in controversy since independence, but the status quo held until the Barack Obama government overthrew the government of Ukraine for the second time in 10 years. And then the new regime...
Yo, she about to come to life. Let's see what she says, man.
Immediately threatened to repeal and abolish the Kharkiv Pact, the agreement by which Russia was allowed to stay at Sevastopol. And it was only then that they seized the Crimean Peninsula. So it's not to say that, it was perfectly justified for them to do so, but it is to say that it was Barack Obama and Joe Biden who picked up.
Wolf Frost says, nothing like some Russian propaganda for breakfast. Mark Maserati said, one question, where is the military audit? When was the last one? Where is the billions missing? Okay, a few questions.
That fight, and then it was Putin who finished it. And then this is a big part of the reason why the war in the East broke out immediately.
Shout out to I1, appreciate you.
was because when the dissenters seized buildings in the east, and including with some Russian help, just like the Westerners helped the Maidan, they declared war against them. They overreacted at John Brennan's behest. We know this, it was reported in Forbes. John Brennan went there on April 12th. They launched the war on the 14th. And the reason they did that was because the coup had already blown up in their face in the loss of Crimea.
Right.
So they weren't about to tolerate this kind of dissent in the East.
Yo, all right, say something there, Ukrainian lady.
It's not Russian propaganda. I'm a Texan. I don't even read Russian or know what the Russians say about this stuff.
Oh,
this
sure,
is the history of the world.
I speak Russian. That's my.
That's
yes.
fine. Listen,
can I please interject with that?
Well, let me just say right here. Anytime anyone contradicts the party line on this, that's all anyone ever says is that this is Russian propaganda. But that's just a bunch of crap.
Because it is.
They're plagiarizing me.
You repeated it in
and
English.
I'm just speaking the truth.
Are you getting money or not? I'm just wondering,
you know. Lady.
At least they pay
See,
you.
that really is all you have, because you can't contradict any of my facts. So you have to come up with this nonsense.
I can contradict everything you said. I participated in my
no one in America cares about Russia at all, lady. Nobody in America cares.
I can't say I care about Russia, but I think Vladimir Putin's not the problem here. I think America is. I mean, I don't know. What y'all think? I don't think Vladimir Putin be the problem, bruh. I think y'all kept pushing him, edging him closer and closer to what he just said. Forget it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Y'all not about to let Ukraine into NATO. Like, no. Like, I'm about to. I'm taking it back before that happened. Clinton going ahead and like, hey, bro, we just watched the video. You know what I mean? The guy break down everything. So, like, me looking at it, I can't say we in America love Putin, but a lot of us don't really think he's the problem.
Cares about Russia. Back in the days of communism, there were communists that did.
Can I please have a word? This person spoke quite a bit. We had given him a rooper to repeat Russian talking points and lies, blatant lies. So
I mean, he invaded. I mean, that's the problem. But like, what led him to do that? You see what I'm saying? But war is always bad. Like, you know, Putin's going to be wrong for doing that. You know what I mean? Because people are dying and stuff like. But what led up into this?
No,
okay, well, Scott, let Anna just respond to what you were saying, Scott. I'm interested to hear her response.
A lot of bullshit was said, so it's kind of difficult to counter everything. Basically, it was not a coup. It was a revolution that millions of people participated in. The reason we participated, me included, I was 19 back in the day.
No, Austin T. Yeah, they can join NATO if NATO would allow them to join NATO. Yeah, I mean, you know what I mean? But that... Yeah, you probably just got here.
It was because we had severe problems with corruption and a tyrannical puppet of Russia, Yanukovych, who refused to make a treaty with the European Union, which is what most of the people in Ukraine wanted, 60-something%, and especially younger people wanted to move away from Russian control, from Russians owning every single business industry in my country, and to have some sort of like laws and order, and also have some sort of democracy and liberty that is what something people have in the West, and that's something that we did not have. So that was the revolution was about that, about students going and protesting and getting beaten up, and Yanukovych then going to Russia to essentially ask Putin, his buddy, how can he stop the protesters, which he then made dictator laws that prohibited people to effectively protest at all in this country. So we didn't appreciate that, and
Corey Herbert. He's got the comment of the day. Comment of the day. This is what he said. He said, we invaded Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, and Libya, yet nobody said we were trying to take over the world. Yo, Dog Life, that is the best comment today. Shout out to you, Corey Herbert.
went, literally millions of people participated in Maidan. That is not a coup. That is not something you buy for Obama or Nuland cookies. I'm sorry to say, never received a single cookie yet. It's been a long time. And yeah, all of that, when going to Georgia is a whole other thing, but that's just what Russia does. It creates unrest. It supports militias in the countries, and then it basically floods them with weapons, and it also applies its own soldiers to annex territory by the guise of protecting Russian speakers or any of that. Scott is a master, I believe Scott is the name, right? Here, but I am a Russian speaker from Eastern Ukraine. It's about as east as it gets in Kharkiv, and I didn't require their protection. I was never prosecuted. What they did is that they attacked us under the guise of protecting Russian speakers that were never prosecuted in this country, because half of us literally are Russian speakers. We have been Russified back in the day by Russian empire.
Froggy Megsy, shout out to you, said tap the like button. Froggy Megsy, you know, like a video like this, like what we talking about, like social media companies, I feel like certain type of, like if I do a blog on Kendrick Lamar, you know what I mean? It's going to move. It's going to do numbers. If I talk about, like, even just Trump, like, that stuff will move, right? Or, you know, Charlemagne the God, The View, all that, that'll move. This is not going to move. Like, it don't matter. Like, and Froggy makes it, yeah, like, y'all hit the like, saw that, Thug Life. You know what I'm saying? But I'm seeing on my end, like, on this OBS, it's so many 100s and like all of that going up, you know, and I'm sure y'all can see some of them too. But this video is not moving. Because who do I got in that? Who I got on the thumbnail? You know what I'm saying? Who in that title? Like certain things, like social media companies, you know, I don't know. They get kind of weird with, you know.
So yeah, this war is about not about you. I'm sad to say some things are not about America.
Yo, why you going in on her mic? Froggy makes me say her mic is terrible. Yo.
War is about our very long time, centuries long oppressor trying to thrust us back under their control. And we didn't want that. People in Georgia don't want that, if you can see it by now, currently, by the revolution and the protests going on in the country. Exactly for the same reason, because their corrupt Russian puppet government refused the people's will to be part of Europe. So it was never about NATO, because we never discussed joining NATO until Russian invasion. It was never even a conversation in Ukraine about joining NATO. So thanks for the lies, obviously. Also, yeah, they do have borders with NATO right now, and they had them before. Now it's even bigger. It doubled because Finland, in fear of Russia, joined NATO. That's why people join NATO, because they want protection from Russian aggression.
So Nancy Benton is in the comments, right? And she said, watch Winter on Fire. So that's on Netflix. I'm gonna check it out. It looked like it's pretty good. What? Hold on. I'm thinking about doing callers. I don't know. Hey, Nancy Benton, why do you say watch this? It looks like it's probably good, like with, you know, the trailer. Like I'm looking at it run. I got the audio off. It looks like it's good, but what they talking about in there?
Okay, thank you, Anna. Rob, you've been waiting patiently. It's interesting. I mean,
it says in just 93 days, what started as peaceful student demonstration became a violent revolution.
I find with these debates, I learn a lot, but I'm not entirely sure where the truth lies. Having just heard two very different versions of the history here, what would you like to say?
Well, I mean, what
Trump is not Putin's puppet. Nah, bro, you got to know.
Say is obviously, Anna has more experience than me. She lives there. She's lost family members. And having seen war firsthand, I know that most people don't want to be at war. Most people are trying to get on with their lives. And unfortunately, there are bad people that force this stuff. And my heart goes out to them, too. And I'm definitely going to buy Scott's book after this. I'm actually sitting here on this panel learning a lot, and I'm open-minded about stuff because I used to be, America, apple pie, and we're the greatest in the world. But I've seen stuff that we've done. Sitting here in the United States, having worked in D.C. and living in New York, I just don't like my taxpayer dollars going over to a place where people are funneling into their own pockets and threatening a nuclear war, because it doesn't matter who does it. If one nuke gets launched, if it's India to Pakistan or Israel to somewhere else, or the United States decides, the only country, by the way, to ever drop a nuclear weapon on another country, if that happens again, we're going to go into a thing called nuclear winter, and you're going to want to die in the blast. You're not going to want to die doing that. My interest is in getting corrupt politics out. Well, first here, hopefully it starts in January, and then maybe it can spread somewhere else. You're never going to get rid of corrupt politicians, because narcissists are they just go there. Washington's full of them. I've been there. I've seen them. Obviously, Vladimir Putin's a horrible person. I don't like Volodymyr Zelensky either. I'm tired of seeing innocent people get killed for.
Nancy said, also watch Oliver Stone's Ukraine on Fire.
For other people getting rich, because that's what happens. I'm tired of seeing soldiers who don't want to be there, both Ukrainian and Russia, fighting in trenches like they did in World War I and getting hit with suicide drones, which is the wave of the future, almost to the point where we're going to stop having manned jets, because it's a waste of time and legions of drones will be fighting. I hate to see this escalation of force. I hate to see people getting rich everywhere, from the industrial complex to the military, of big pharma, of all that stuff. It's just sad as someone who went somewhere, risked my own life to kill the #1 terrorist in the world, and now wonder if some of the places we went were even worth it, or we're just making people like Dick Cheney rich. So that's why I'm here, and I'm just open-minded. I want to hear what Cenk has to say. Buying the book, love to hear.
Yo, he had the word of the show.
Scott's book, love to hear what Anna's saying. And I'm honest to God, just learning stuff here today. So
do you know what? That's such a great, honest answer, Rob. That's why I love having you on.
Hey, but Benton, I'm gonna watch that Ukraine on Fire.
Uncensored, because you're an honest guy. And I really appreciate that. I feel the same way. I don't profess to be a great expert here. Cenk, I'm going to come to you in a second. I'm just going to have a quick break to speak to the former NATO Supreme Allied Commander, General Wesley Clark. General, thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Larry Mallet said Biden is Putin's best friend for opening up Putin pipelines and made him $100 billion for war. Yep, Biden is Putin's best friend and a traitor to America and the world. That is a very interesting comment. I'm not saying you wrong, but that's Larry. That's Larry about to make me check some stuff out. Andy Freeze said the guy is on point. Ukrainian independence isn't worth a nuclear winter.
Oh, happy to be here.
Putin's not gonna launch nuclear weapons. He's not going to do that.
Piers, I'm listening to this panel.
And Zelensky's under control by us. Like they know not to do that.
Look, there's a lot of misinformation. I was in Ukraine on the 31st of March. I went through Maidan. I talked to the people. I looked at the lamppost where Putin's henchmen had killed a bunch of...
and then Ukraine gave up their nuclear weapons in 1994. So they don't... I mean, that's like what would make them want to be in NATO, so they can possibly get access to, countries that have stuff like that. Sandra says, you all should travel to Russia. It's so clean. I've been... I want to go to Santorini, Greece is the next place. I went to Zurich, Switzerland, Genoa, Italy, Milan, Italy, Lake Como, Italy, Zurich, Switzerland, Geneva, Switzerland, France. I've been everywhere. And I've thought about going to Russia. Not right now. You know what I'm saying? But I've thought about doing that. I've seen pictures of Ukraine. Ukraine used to look amazing before this whole situation kicked off between Russia and Ukraine, but I hear Russia's real nice. So, I mean, I don't know.
Ukrainians are a bunch of bullets still embedded in the lamppost. I followed it very, very closely. I don't know exactly what you want to talk about. If I'd been on your panel, I would have probably disagreed with most of them. The people in Ukraine are fighting for democracy. NATO didn't push itself to the borders. It was drawn to the borders by the people in Eastern Europe who wanted freedom. They wanted freedom from Russian oppression. That's why NATO expanded in response to them. Not because NATO wanted to expand. It's because in order to stabilize, you had to be able to provide investment, and to get investment, people needed security, and they were living in fear of Russia coming back. Now, when did Putin decide to come back? As soon as he became president in 1999, at the speech he made in the inaugural.
Anita said Trump already gone down as the worst president in U.S. history, according to presidential historians. Anita, no. No, Anita. I respect your opinion and everything. I appreciate you for even, you know what I mean, coming in here, but nah, Trump is not going down. He is one of the best presidents. I don't care what nobody say. He is one of the best presidents.
Of President Kuchma in Ukraine.
No new wars under his administration. He got rid of ISIS. The border was under control. We were all flourishing. Like, he maintained, I feel like Obama, he inherited a lot of Obama's policy, you know what I mean? Obama's economy, but he maintained it. And he only like really dug into the deficit when we hit COVID. It was nothing he can do with COVID. You know what I'm saying? COVID, that was a situation he had to get a little bit of money out there. You know what I mean? But other than that, I mean, I think he did a really good job. And you can see, like, soon as he got out of office, Biden Harris got in there and it went haywire. Food prices skyrocketed. Interest rates went crazy high. Like, you know what I mean? Gas prices was high. You know? I don't know, man. I don't think Trump was that bad.
Putin said, Ukraine and Russia, we're more than brothers. We're in each other's souls. Poland sent its national security advisor to see me after that, said, he's trying to restore the Soviet Union. He's coming after us. So this is a long-held ambition by Mr. Putin. And he's seen weakness in the West repeatedly. And that weakness has encouraged him to move. And it's going to continue until the West shows strength.
So very Greenlee said NATO pushed themselves to the Russian border under the advice of warmongers.
And that strength means providing much more to Ukraine, bringing Ukraine into NATO, and saying to Mr. Putin very directly, look, stop. We're not interested in strategic arms discussions. We're not interested in investing in your economy. We're not interested in having nice conversations in Switzerland with you until you pull back, return the children, account for the inductees, bring to trial the war criminals that have been indicted in Ukrainian courts, and you owe us close to $1 trillion in destruction of our country. So, Piers, these are very clear lines. This is 1937, 1938. And you would have heard the same kind of apologists for Hitler. You would have heard them saying the peace in Versailles was unfair, and the French, and there's corruption and so forth. There's corruption in every government.
Right.
It's there in your government. It's there in the United States. Right. It's there in Ukraine, but it's never the same as it is in Russia, where organized crime works as an arm of the government connected to the intelligence agencies to assure that Putin and his cronies get what they want. So I think it's a very...
Pain 1737. Come on, man. Like, let me live, man. Dark Kent said he was right when he said company.
A difficult time. I don't know how the negotiations are going to turn out, but I would tell you this, that Mr. Trump's in a tough position, because if he gives Putin what he wants, he looks weak to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And if he looks to the rest of the world, China's going to move. We've got in the United States a window now to do something in the Middle East, and I think Netanyahu probably will ask Mr. Trump to do it and pose a choice for the Iranian regime: either knock off the hegemonial aspirations and shut down this.
Hey, thank all y'all for hitting the 100s and everything, man. And then Corey Herbert said, this guy is the definition of propaganda. And then Tom S. said, LOL, after all this time, we can't tell COVID was BS anyway.
Arc of resistance, including the weapons to the Houthis, or face the consequences.
Knowledge Junkie said, all these people making these NATO arguments will not hesitate to pull a 360 if Russia was set up a military base in Mexico in the name of helping secure their border. Fire comment! Fire comment! Knowledge Junkie said, all these people making these NATO arguments will not hesitate to pull a 360 if Russia was to set up a military base in Mexico in the name of helping secure their border. Exactly! That is a fire guy. Y'all smart, bro. It's been some good comments in here, man. That's a very good. How would y'all feel if Russia was to set up like a missile base in Mexico right next to us? Y'all would be wildin'. So that's why me, like, people, like, I don't have like a popular opinion on this, but I don't feel like, bro, if y'all want to keep expanding NATO and y'all ain't gonna listen, y'all trying to play me, bro. Like, I'm going into Ukraine, bro. Y'all go keep playing. Y'all not about to beat. No, we not doing that, bro.
With Iran, you have to go to the source. With Russia, you have to stand firm. We've had deterrence in place for 70 years. We have nuclear weapons. Putin doesn't want to use a nuclear weapon. He's afraid of nuclear weapons, but he's using them to threaten. So,
but hey, Knowledge Junkie, you got to say, you can't say 360 though. That was a good comment. You gotta say 180, but that was a good comment though.
Oh, people like your bearded guy whose name
Corey Herbert said, people are waking up. I enjoy seeing it. Exactly. Sandra said exactly. Philip Duncan said, NATO lied to Russia and now we have war. And then Muddock Dot said, probably get peed off. We make Mexico feel like we want to absorb them. And then June said, Vladimir Putin, baby. Ariel said, Russia is the best. Page 1737. Yo, why you mad, bro? Shout out to you, though, bro. June said, Vladimir Putin, baby. And then Marcy Porter said, gas was cheap under Trump. Food was affordable under Trump. Moving Forward said, is war coming to America? No, I don't think so. I don't think no country want to really play with us like that.
I didn't get. These are people who are repeating.
Payne 1737 said Putin is a degenerate. Hey man, I don't mind people like trolling in here. I'll be trolling people too. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to you. I ain't got no problem with you, Payne. Payne, can we be cool? Payne 1737. Can we be cool? Payne came in here like everybody's getting it. Shout out to Payne, no.
Points. It's exactly what the woman from Ukraine said. Now, I will tell you that people in Ukraine are suffering, and they would love an end to this conflict. They didn't choose it. It was forced on them. But the only way it's going to be successfully resolved is by strong U.S. leadership. And Mr. Trump is in a position where no matter what he said about ending the war in 24 hours, he's in a position where he simply cannot and will not concede everything that Putin wants. He won't do it. If he does, you won't make America great again. You'll invite war elsewhere in the world. So I see you brought in the rest of the panel here.
Yeah.
I'll stop.
Well, no, you know what, General? I've interviewed you many times. I've seen you interview many times. I've never seen you quite this angry. It feels to me like you're angry about where things have gone to.
Well, Piers, I'm angry about hearing the misinformation from some members of your. Okay. Now,
Can I respond, please?
Can I explain something before you talk, please, sir? I was at the beginning of NATO enlargement. I was there at the beginning. I talked to foreign leaders. I set up the program as a staff officer in the Pentagon. I was the NATO commander who went to Bulgaria and Romania and Estonia and Latvia. And they told me, we've got to be in NATO. They didn't say, hey, if you want us, okay, I bet you blah, 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 blah. We said, we don't want you. It's too much of a problem. They said, please, please help us. And so that's exactly what happened. That's how we got there. In 2014, when Putin went into Crimea, the Ukrainians could have stopped it, but they asked the United States, what should we do? And the United States told them, give up Crimea. Why? Because we wanted Putin's cooperation in the Middle East and with Iran to stop Iran's nuclear program.
Yo, y'all crazy. Hey, we got 40,000 views before 10 o'clock. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to everybody. You know what I'm saying? Thug Life. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to y'all.
When Putin went further in Donbass, we provided information, but we provided no lethal assistance to Ukraine. For all these years, the United States administration was timid in dealing with Putin. It's like one member of the administration said recently.
I don't think, like, bro, I think dude was right. What you talking about, bro? Hold on.
This is not an attack by Putin on Ukraine in the way that we are told every day. This started in 1990, February 9th, 1990. James Baker III, our Secretary of State, said to Mikhail Gorbachev, NATO will not move 1 inch eastward if you agree to German unification, basically ending World War II. And Gorbachev said, that's very important. Yes, NATO doesn't move, and we agreed to German unification. The U.S. then cheated on this, already starting in 1994. When
wait, what you talking about, dude?
Clinton signed off on basically a plan to expand NATO all the way to Ukraine. This is when the so-called neocons took power.
A Democrat, Clinton, wanted them to expand NATO.
And Clinton was the first agent of this. And the expansion of NATO started in 1999 with Poland, Hungary, and Czech Republic. At that point, Russia didn't much care. There was no border other than with the Königsberg, but other than that, there was no direct threat. Then the U.S. led the bombing of Serbia in 1999. That was bad, by the way, because that was the use of NATO to bomb a European.
For 70-something days, they was bombing them.
Capital, Belgrade, 78 straight days to break the country apart. The Russians didn't like that very much. But Putin became president, they swallowed it, they complained, but even Putin started out pro-European, pro-American, actually. He asked maybe we should join NATO when there was still the idea of some kind of mutual respect.
Sidney Prim. She said Glenn, oh no, she said Glenn Paul is way up Putin's A-word.
Relationship. Then 9/11 came, then came Afghanistan, and the Russians said, yeah, we'll support you. We understand to root out terror. But then came 2 other decisive.
Exactly. Smash 72. He said right around the time Clinton Foundation started.
Actions. In 2002, the United States unilaterally walked out of the anti-ballistic missile treaty. This was probably the most decisive event, never discussed in this context. But what it did was trigger the U.S. putting in missile systems in Eastern Europe that Russia views as a dire, direct threat. In 2004-5, we engaged in a soft regime change operation in Ukraine. But in 2009, Yanukovych won the election and he became president, and in 2010 on the basis of neutrality for Ukraine. That calmed things down because the U.S. was pushing NATO, but the people of Ukraine on the opinion polls didn't even want to be in NATO. They knew that the country is divided between ethnic Ukrainian, ethnic Russian. What do we want with this? We want to stay away from your problems. So in February 22nd, 2014, the United States participated actively in the overthrow of Yanukovych. A typical U.S. regime change operation.
Flourish Prince said, from what I have heard so far, it seems like you guys are saying it's all the U.S. fault, that this war, a fight between two powerhouses trying to show dominance.
I have no doubt about it. And the Russians did us a favor. They intercepted a really ugly call between Victoria Nuland.
Sandra said, America needs to mind its own business. Proxy wars are horrible. But you know, like a proxy war too can be like draining to Russia, right? Because Ukraine seems to have a lot of capital given to them from the United States. Whereas, you know, they can just kind of weigh Russia down a little bit, like money-wise. Like war is expensive, you know? So maybe they could look like, okay, we're going to sit back, give Ukraine money, give Ukraine weapons, tell Ukraine what to do, put the battery in Zelensky's back. Meanwhile, Russia's going to be losing, you know, military people in this war, losing money, you know, resources tied up, and we're going to stay strong as a union while they start to crumble. So, you know, I mean, it's a lot of different ways this could be looked at, you know.
My colleague at Columbia University now, between
like a low-key apocalypse now. No, I'm just playing. Somebody said, did you see those drones in New Jersey that nobody knows where they came from? Nah. Aquaflex is a member on the channel. Appreciate you. He said, what also makes people a lot of money?
her
He said, war also makes people.
and the U.S. ambassador to Ukraine, Jeffrey Piat, who's a senior State Department official till today. And they
Cindy, no, that is not true, Cindy.
talked about regime change. They said, who's going to be the next government? All of this is to say, the U.S. then said, okay, now NATO's really going to enlarge. And Putin kept saying, stop. You promised no NATO enlargement. It's been, by the way, I forgot to mention, in 2004, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Bulgaria, Romania, Slovakia, Slovenia, 7 more countries in the not 1 inch eastward. And then, okay, it's a long story, but
You got to go on my Twitter to find this video.
the U.S. kept rejecting the basic idea, don't expand.
Jeans World said Putin is not the bad guy. Rockefeller called Putin a traitor for betraying the New World Order.
NATO to Russia's border in a context where we're putting in goddamn missile systems. After breaking a treaty, 2019, we walked out of the Intermediate Nuclear Force Treaty. On December 15th, 2021, Putin put on the table a draft Russia-U.S. security agreement. You can find it online. The basis of it is no NATO enlargement. I called the White House that next week after that, begging them, take the negotiations. Putin's offered something, avoid this war. Oh, Jeff, there's not going to be a war. Announce that NATO's not going to enlarge. Oh, don't worry, NATO's not going to enlarge. I said, oh, you're going to have a war over something that's not going to happen? Why don't you announce it? And he said, no, our policy is an open door. This is Jake Sullivan. Our policy is an open door policy. Open door for NATO enlargement. That is under the category of bullshit, by the way. You don't.
Yo, Zelensky does not own a house in Florida, bro. He said, how does Zelensky own a multi-million-dollar house in Florida? Let me show you this real quick, because I did hear about that. Let me show you this. No, deny. Get out of here. No, Ukraine, Zelensky did not buy a lavish mansion in Florida, right? It says a few days after Zelensky's visit to Washington, social media accounts are claiming that the Ukrainian president recently bought a mansion in Florida. The posts show pictures of a lavish mansion and document that looks like a U.S. naturalization certificate under his name, but both photos are fake. Zelensky did not buy a house in the U.S., nor did he become a United States citizen. So that's cap.
Don't have your right to put your military bases anywhere you want and expect peace in this world. They turned down the negotiations. Then the special military operation started. And 5 days later, Zelensky says, okay, neutrality. And then the United States and Britain said, no way. You guys fight on. We got your back. We don't have your front. You're all going to die.
Cindy, chill.
But we got your back as we kept pushing them into the front lines. That's 600,000 deaths now of Ukrainians since Boris Johnson flew to Kyiv to tell them to be brave.
So I don't know. Y'all tell me what y'all think.
Of the Biden administration said, we never expected nuclear weapons. I mean, Nuclear weapons have been the foundation for Western security since the end of the Second World War. We've had near confrontations with the Soviets. And because American presidents didn't back down, we didn't have war.
Yo, Cindy called me a Russian water boy. Cindy!
Now, Mr. Trump has put himself in an extremely difficult position. But all of our talk about Ukraine and telling Ukraine in advance, are you going to have to give up your territory? And by the way, you're not going to be a member of NATO. Let's not do any of this right now. Let's put
Shout out to Knowledge Junkie. Welcome to the club. He is a member. Thug Life. You get a Thug Life. Wait a minute. Shout out to you. Welcome to the club, bro.
Let's get the forces in Ukraine the weapons and support they need so that the people who have already been mobilized can have these weapons and provide the reserves that are necessary in Ukraine. Let's leave an open-ended commitment for Mr. Trump. Let's tell the Ukrainians, strike to your heart's content in Russia. You get no sanctuary, Mr. Putin. You started this. You pay the price. And then let's go into the talk with understanding what we want. We want all of Ukraine's land back. We want reparations. We want the children returned. We want the missing people accounted for. And we want the war criminals put on trial. And then we can talk about sanctions relief. No sanctions relief until the conditions are satisfied. And, it's very hard for democracies to...
Knowledge Junkies is a member in here, said long overdue. Happy to be here. I appreciate you, bro.
Be able to...
Froggy Megsy said, Thug Life!
To stand up to a man like
Shout out to you, Michael Walker, for subscribing. We got a lot of subscribers in here today. Shout out to you. Corey Herbert said, that's the only argument people like Cindy got, bro. Nobody takes them serious.
He doesn't have to worry about re-election. But we need the leadership in the West. I've seen it in some countries. Macron sometimes comes off very strong. Britain has come off very strong in this. And right now, the Biden administration is trying to surge support into Ukraine. And I think President Trump, when he comes in, is going to realize that whatever his relationship is with Mr. Putin and however many times he's called him, he's not going to easily give in and sacrifice Ukraine. He can't afford to. And
Marco Antonio said, Democrats are the party of war. They should be put on trial.
And Putin's already threatened him.
Piers.
Putin's already told him that he's worried about his safety. That's like Tony Soprano saying to you, I'm really worried about the way you're walking across the street. So I'm not angry, Piers, except that there's a lot of misinformation.
Yeah, like, what is this dude smoking, bro? Like, he all over the place here.
Yeah, I hear you.
Can I get in here and respond now, Piers, please?
Thank you.
Yeah, okay, General, thank you. Just, if you don't mind, I'll bring the others in. I've got to say, you have articulated exactly what I've been feeling this entire time. And I've started to think I was going completely mad. But to have somebody with your experience, particularly from the very start of NATO, outlining.
George Pellick said this guy is hardcore tripping.
What I believe has been the way this has all played out is actually quite reassuring to me that I've not gone nuts. Let me bring in Cenk, because you've not had a chance to respond for a while. No, Scott, I'm going to come to you. Scott, I will come to you after Cenk. But I must let Cenk have his say. Cenk, you've been listening to all this, very different opinions, but what is your reaction?
Yeah, I want to tell you my thoughts, and then I actually would love to ask General Clark a question. And so, look, I understand both sides of this equation. And so, if you're the Ukrainians, imagine if some other nation had taken 20% of America. Would we want to give up? Would want to go, oh, yeah, it's okay. Just take Alabama, Mississippi, Texas, etc. It's fine. No, we'd hate it and we'd fight forever, right? So I understand that. On the other hand, you know, when General Clark starts talking about the nuclear weapons, I get super scared because what if Trump's bluff gets called at some point?
Hold on. We're going to let Cenk finish. JDD has a very, very good comment, right? Interesting how the Ukrainians have no say-so whether this war continues or not. Whoa! Yeah, that's crazy when you think about that. And everybody just got a battery in Zelensky's back. And he doing what all of these other countries want him to do. You think the people want this war to continue? I mean, he kind of in a weird situation. It's like if he stops, then Russia will win. You know what I mean? So I don't know, man. This is insane. This is insane.
Trump's main bluff is, oh yeah, you better not mess with me. I'm crazy. I'll make this war.
Hey, Philip Dunkling, look what he just said. He said because y'all heard what Cenk was trying to say, like, yo, if we gave 20% of America up, you know what I'm saying? Like, how would we feel about it, all that? So Philip ended up saying if it was California, we would give it to them. You want 20% of America? Go take Cali. Hey, I kind of wouldn't. Hey, I ain't really mad at that. They can go. You know what I'm saying? They can go.
Much bigger if you mess with me. Yeah, but what if Putin says, yeah, go ahead? Well, then we're in a lot of trouble, right? Because I don't want to get involved in a war like this. I don't want to get involved with nuclear weapons, etc. On the other hand, your point about Russian aggression is definitely true. I can't stand these people starting wars, taking territory, and it breaks my heart to see it. The kidnapped children, etc. So, but General Clark, the question,
like them saying it like that, like Russia taking territory, like it was never Russia's. You know what I'm saying? That's my. Hey, Cindy, you get mad. That was Russia's, bruh. I don't care what was it, 1991? They got their independence. Oh, bruh, they was Russian.
I wanted to ask you, and you know how much I respect you, and we have a relationship before. And by the way, the audience should know, General Clark is the one that called out the neocons for trying to invade 7 countries at once, including the Iraq War. And so he's earned a lot of respect by doing that. But General Clark, this is a genuine question, which is, okay.
Exactly. At the end, Andy Free said, at the end of the day, Zelensky will be the biggest loser.
But if we go with what you're saying,
and he's like banking and hoping that he's going to get continued support from the United States and other territories.
How long do we fight? How long does Ukraine fight? How much money do we spend? How many years of war do we have to endure? And what if Ukraine just doesn't win? So let's say we go another 2 years, 5 years, 20 years. How do we resolve it if Ukraine can't win?
Well, I think what you have to do is understand that this war will go on until Putin believes he can't win. So all the discussion in the West about how to preemptively surrender territory and all this it all feeds Putin's appetite. He understands from all this discussion that the West is weakening in its will, and therefore if he just keeps shoving soldiers forward, that eventually
Timothy said, well, they're about to lose their country.
West will comply and cut off assistance to Ukraine and tell Ukraine, good luck. Hope you enjoy being part of Poland again. Because
hey, Cindy, are you Ukrainian?
That's his aim. He doesn't really care about Lviv. What he wants is the north coast of the Black Sea and Odessa, and of course Kharkiv and Kyiv and so forth. And,
I know Froggy Megzy said, "Come on, January 20th."
And then he wants the rest of Europe, Eastern Europe, that used to be under Soviet dominion. He needs this in order to be able to confront China. And this
Knowledge Junkie is a member on the channel, said, "Can't wait for Trump to assume office. He handles business. Ask the UN. They know America first."
Is the ultimate fear of Russia and its leadership. And they know they can't confront China unless they have control over Eastern Europe, including the Baltics and Poland and the rest of the Balkan Peninsula. And so it's a long-term geostrategic game. And Jink, I just tell you this, there's no American soldiers over there getting killed. And most of the money that's been appropriated by the United States has gone to buy new weapons in the United States. We're giving them the old stuff, the old ATACMs.
He's like, "Oh, there's no American soldiers being killed, so it don't really matter." That's what I'm hearing from this guy. We're not giving them new artillery. They're just getting the old stuff.
We've just recently even reprioritized our military sales program. We're still selling ATACMs to Morocco. Now, why does Morocco need 60 ATACMs? I don't know. But we're selling stuff off Patriots all over the world. That stuff should go to Ukraine. As long as the United States stands.
Time said all of this, but it's an easy fix. Move NATO back as promised and give the small portion of land they originally wanted to get to Crimea, which is mostly Russia. So, I don't know. And then Glenn Paul said Romania is on the verge of electing a president who is a big-time communist and wants to bring back the mentality of the communist Russia.
Firm, we won't have nuclear weapons and nuclear war. Putin doesn't want it either. But
Paul Parmley, shout out to you. He said, "How else will Biden let down the American people before he leaves office?"
He does believe right now that we will collapse.
Dark Kent 718 said Ukraine was a part of Russia. It was created by Stalin in the early 1900s.
He will continue to threaten the nuclear and play the nuclear card.
Yeah.
Because that's the way the Russians play it.
Yeah.
And so you just have to stand firm against it. And you need strong leadership, and you need the American people behind you. And what you have to understand is that Putin understands how to manipulate public opinion. In every country in Europe, there are people there saying, just like one of the gentlemen on this panel said, this is crazy, and people are getting killed, and I'm tired of seeing people dying, and we've got to have peace. In 1937, 38, in Europe, everybody...
It says the history of Ukraine spans thousands of years, rooted in the Pontic Steppe, a region central to the spread of Chalcolithic and Bronze Ages Indo-European migration and domestication of the horse. Yo, man, what?
They had fresh memories of the First World War. It was a horrible experience. A whole generation of British young men were wiped out. The French got so bad that in one group of French divisions, they pulled out every 10th soldier and shot him for cowardice. Nobody wanted a repeat of the First World War. And so Hitler occupied the Rhineland against instruction. Hitler rearmed. Hitler rebuilt the military. And at every stage, there were people who said, well, this is really dangerous, but please, we can't think about it. It can't be another world war. So we're revisiting this in a slightly different form today. If we believe in democracy, if we believe in what we set up, if we believe in the lessons we learned from the Second World War, then we've got to stand firm against Mr. Putin. President Biden should have said to him, look, bud, you...
y'all really got to look up like when Ukraine actually started. Some of y'all making stuff up, man. Akaflex said, what politician doesn't know how to manipulate public opinion?
Come after Ukraine, I promise you, You're going to lose. You're going to lose. But he didn't say that. And he's never said that.
No, he hasn't.
Hey, y'all, I got to go to sleep. I got work later. Like, over the weekend, bro, we going crazy, bro. Shout out to everybody. We got 63,000 views before 10 a.m. I appreciate everybody in here. Shout out to all the people that's rocking with me, all the moderators, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to everybody that's a member. Shout out to everybody that's coming into the chat, all the new subscribers. There's a lot of y'all subscribing. I appreciate y'all. You know what I mean? We're going to get back to it, back to the news, everything. You know what I mean? But I got to work 7 to 7. You know what I'm saying? And then, like, maybe later Saturday we go live, and then Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, we're going to start running like that. But shout out to everybody. Ahmad Kamari, subscribe.